Square Scoop in Fountain Square, Indianapolis. Best ice cream. Their strawberry ice cream is both like a distributed strawberry ice cream and then an actual, like, it's not a swirl, because I do feel like swirl implies additional sugar and syrupiness. It is just like chunks of frozen icy strawberry puree. It's amazing. It's the best. So they had that like going for them in this peach ice cream, but then there was like this biscuit component, which was like, I understand that they were like trying to make like a salty component to contrast with the strawberry. And like surprisingly the texture, while not what I would consider necessarily a biscuit texture, it was kind of like a dried out. But I mean, I understand why. Like, right, you can't put that texture in an ice cream without it being like dough essentially. And it was very odd. Do you have feelings? This is a podcast about yarn, but lots of it today is going to be about ice cream apparently, and my recent vacation, because I didn't get a lot of knitting done. I actually legit left my knitting at home. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm sure you know if you're watching the podcast, if you've watched the podcast for a long time, I've been feeling a little bit burnt out lately. I'm just not taking the same joy in my daily knitting that I have in the past. I'm enjoying a lot of other things. And I'm enjoying like planning knitting and playing with color and that kind of the aspect of knitting, but like the daily stitching has not been as appealing to me. And I don't know if that is an issue with like easy, sexy diversions. And sexy is not the right word, but you know what I mean? Like just like brain candy, like blurg, you know? And so like rich, and that being something that I'm not knitting as much just because my brain wants to shut off more so. Yeah, I don't know, but I didn't remember my knitting. Like, we were going on a weeks-long vacation, and I did not bring one stitch to work on. I was going to bring a pair of socks, and I felt like that would be enough. Typically, for like a 3-day vacation, I'm bringing like 5 projects. But no, I originally had planned to only bring this one project, and then I didn't even remember that. We were like driving to the airport and I was like, oh, I forgot my knitting. My whole family was like, do we need to go back? And I was like, no, I'm fine. And they were like, it was very strange. Yeah. What was I starting to talk about? I think I was just talking about how I don't have a lot of knitting today. But I'm glad we took a vacation because it did help to reset me a little bit. I didn't realize like the amount I needed to have like exfoliated off of my brain and spirit in some way. And so it was really helpful to get out of this space. I am so thankful that I have a home business, and I'm so thankful that I get to do my job from home, that if something happens and we have a family issue, I don't have to ask for permission to leave, that if I have to pee, I don't have to tell anybody why. Like, I'm so thankful. But one of the downsides of having a home business is that it's always there. Like, even when you're like not doing something, you feel like you should be doing something. And so it's really nice to just like have that option taken away. And to not be, to be able to just say like, I am relaxing and that is what I am doing. I shouldn't be doing anything else. This is what I am doing. So it was really nice to have that option, and I'm very thankful that we were able to do that. This is like our first ever. Okay, so what are we talking about today? First off, administrative. I will have prizes next time. So if you contribute to the podcast financially via Patreon, PayPal, or Ko-Fi, I do draw quarterly prizes for folks. And I will have those next time. I apologize. I just kind of lost track of reality and didn't get that together. So I'll do it next time. So that's administrative. What else is administrative? If you made a pre-order last week for bags, thank you so much. The fabric I think is getting here today. Hooray! Spoonflower is like super speedy this time. I am so thankful for that. Ugh. Like at one point, sometimes I'm like, oh, pre-orders. Because, you know, it's like somebody gives you money and then you have to do work later. It's kind of like paying off a credit card bill. You're like, ugh, it's still fun. But I am so thankful that I don't have to think about what I'm doing in terms of like making decisions. Like I just know that like 7 people want this thing and 12 people want this thing. I don't have to look at the fabric and be like, I really like this, but will other people like it? What size will they like it in? You know, and they're like, so appreciative. That when you make a pre-order, I know it's a pain to wait for something, but it is so helpful to not have to use that bandwidth. I have so little these days on that kind of like heavier decision making of just like, so thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to just like working and, you know, concentrating on that, but not having to worry about like out there. So thank you. So that's happening. I think that's all the administrative. I'll talk about knitting for yarn stuff first. And then I think I'll talk about a little bit about a vacation. And I don't think I'll give you like a blow by blow. Are you interested in that? Do you want that? Do you want like full slideshow? Because I'll do it. If you want that, tell me in the notes, in the YouTube comments. If that's something you're interested in. Or if you're just like, dude, keep that to yourself. So I'll try to talk a little bit. I don't know if I can, it's like a dam. I'm not sure I can exactly, like, I'm not a dam. I don't know that I can exactly control the flow of information, but I'm going to try to not give you too much that you're just like, shut it, but just maybe a little bit. I think that's the plan. So let's talk about yarn stuff. Okay. Ooh, sewing. There is sewing. Oh, do you want to? Okay, so I decided to make the Mina and Broad Glebe pants, Glebe. They are a wide leg, like a straight leg trouser. You have an option of doing a full elasticated waist or doing like a front that has pleats and like a flat waistband with an elastic back. So I made a toile of them doing the full elasticated waist, and I actually like them quite a bit, like as a crop option. I have an issue with cropped pants that are wide, that are straight leg, because my leg at the top is like this big. And so like that is really big when it translates all the way down to the bottom of my leg. But the fabric I chose, they still looked cute. Even if they were cropped, they just looked kind of fancy. Okay, fancy's not the right word. Eccentric? Maybe? But when I started, I tried to do them in this, what's this called? Kaufman twill, Kobe, K-O-B-E twill. It's a lighter weight twill. It's like a 4.5, 5 ounce, I think. But I really like it. It's great colors. It's got a nice softness to it. The diagonal grain of the twill is not super pronounced. They have another twill that is a heavier weight, and I can't remember what it's called, but the diagonal of it is really pronounced, almost more like a denim, and I haven't quite got my brain around whether or not I like that. Anyway, so I decided these would be really nice to wear on vacation. We went to Yellowstone and the Tetons, and let me just discuss, this was the first year well, the first year, the first time I've gone on any vacation where I wasn't stressed about what I was going to wear. I mean, I was stressed a little bit because we were trying not to carry on, or we were trying not to check any bags. So like there was like logistical concerns, but I wasn't like, oh, I don't have any pants. I don't have enough pants to make it through the week, or I don't have anything that's comfortable enough that it looks, that I feel comfortable with it and I like the way I look in it. Anyway, this is the first time it's ever happened that I wasn't like, can I pull together 3 things? Yay, sewing. But anyway, so I thought these would be good to wear because they'd be cool enough for the hot part of the day. They'd be comfortable enough to hike in, and all that good stuff. So I made them up with the twill, and with the straight leg, they looked really kind of like a little kookier than I was prepared for. So I did actually just kind of trim down the leg a little bit. I'd already sewn them just with a serger seam. I tried them on and was like, and so I just shaved a little bit off each side, and that seemed to be a little bit more comfortable for me. So I don't know why I'm telling you this necessarily. Ow. But I'm hemming, so that's maybe why I was telling you that. I don't know what's wrong with me. But maybe I'll show you next time what they look like. Would you be interested in that? I really do like the comfort of them. They're very comfy. I did find, however, though, I made the toile with the full elastic waist, and when I made these, I thought I'll make them with the flat front, for no particular reason. Well, just because like the way my specific body is, I get like this, like a lot of like gathers that like kind of accentuate like what would be like a bikini line. Not a bikini line, but like a diaper line. I don't know. It's a little bit bunchy, like right here in the front, which is just like, hey, here's my crotch. So I thought, well, I'll make the pleats, so maybe that'll help. But then the pleated front was a little bit too big, like it kind of stuck out from my body. So like on one pair, I just made a faux fly, which basically just let me put another pleat right in the middle. And then for some reason on this pair, I was like, I'll make a faux double thing. It doesn't matter because this doesn't even show unless I'm like reaching for something, but because they're high-waisted, like it's like on the up. I have the bee belly, so it's on my upper belly. But like, I was just like, sure, that's a thing. These are fake. Like this is just sewn down like a pleat, and then I just applied these, but whatever, doesn't matter. And it solved the problem of the waistband like sticking out from my body, and also helped with that like line that was happening. So I am pleased with how it worked, even though I decided to do it a really weird way. Bam. I don't know, I have issues. And then also in sewing, I did my crop top episode last time, and one of you is so brilliant. I apologize. I don't recall your name. It's not you. It's me. When we went on our trip, we took a river raft float thing, and I can't remember the guide's name. I asked my family like 27 times. I still couldn't tell you his name. Something like boring, like Rick or something. That's not it. I know that's not it. They can remember. I couldn't remember. I still can't remember. So it's not you. It's just my brain. But thank you so much, because one of you, I was talking about how I liked having the crop top without bust darts in it, because bust darts really do show where your boobs are supposed to be in the shirt. So they do rely on you wearing the same foundation garment or pretty similar. I mean, I don't think anybody else would notice, but like when I'm just hanging out sans bra at home, like it's weird for there to be like the point of a bust dart, like just taunting me, like, this is where your boob should be. I'm like, shut up, bust dart. And he's like, I'm not saying anything. I'm just here, just being myself. Just taunting me. I don't appreciate it. So I really do like the like not having a bust dart on these specific tops, but somebody said, oh, you can just take the bust dart out of a pattern. What? You totally can. If you just Google removing a bust dart, depends on whether your dart is vertical, which I've never done those, or it's this way, like parallel to the ground-ish, whether it's like whatever, but ish. But you can totally take it out. I did that on this one. This is a Springfield top from Cashmerette. I'm not going to show you right now because, well, let's not lie. They're not wearing a bra, and like you're going to get more than you bargained for. Okay, so here's like real life, like trying to work on my rotator cuff. There's some interfacing, you know, real life, y'all. But it did occur to me, like, as I was editing, that it was kind of weird for me not to include a picture. Like, you can see the table and the video, whatever. Welcome. So I put on a bra for you. You're welcome. And so here's my crop top. So this is my version of a Springfield, but with no bust dart. What? How fun is that? It does this wee, wee. And then here's my Glebe pants that I did taper a tiny bit. Not much, but a little bit. And I'm pleased with how they turned out as well. Right? Okay, so you're actually a little bit below my eye level, so only short people can actually see up my shirt. So you're welcome, short people. Ta-da! But I'll show you another day. But you can totally do it. And it's kind of cute because it makes the bottom kind of like a little bit more flouncy is not the right word. But ish. In a fun way. I don't know. But yeah, you can totally take one out. What? Did you know that? I didn't know that. Thanks, human. You're great. So yeah. But that's the sewing I did. That was before I left. I'm enjoying sewing hems and stuff so much. It's very weird. I think it's definitely Books and Cables on Instagram, who is just so enjoyable, so delightful. She was going through a thing a while back where she was sewing some trousers, I think, and she was just going to sew them by hand, and people were like, what? But I totally get it, because there is something about like knowing, it's kind of like the garter stitch equivalent of, you know, anything. It's like you have this like you're already set up, right? Like you know what you need to do, and it's just going to be the same thing for a long time. And there is something very pleasant about that. And so yeah, I do enjoy hemming things by hand. Same thing of like putting on quilt binding by hand. It's very enjoyable. I can't believe this is who I am now. Just roll with it, right? It's very pleasant. And like, again, we don't need that many garments, whatever. So it's one of the ways to kind of draw out the process of sewing so that you don't end up with as many things that you don't necessarily need. So yeah, I like it. I could totally see sewing an entire garment by hand. I would need to work on my hand sewing because I don't feel like it's as sturdy at this point as machine sewing for me. It's not that I think that about all hand sewing. It's just my particular skill level. I would definitely need to like work on my the functionality of my hand sewing. That's not what I was trying to say, but it works. But yeah, it's very pleasant. Do you enjoy hand sewing, or are you just like, no thank you? No. I don't know. Anyway, yarn stuff. Okay, so what do I have? Thank you, vacation. I came home and immediately pulled out my ridiculous avocado toast sweater vest zippy thing. If you're new to the podcast, are you ready for this? I should have given you a warning. Holy Hannah. It's my scrappy, there's no pattern, It's my scrappy, I call it my avocado toast. I'm going to make it a zip up vest because I'm insane, I guess is the best answer. It's 1 million DK yarns, as you can see. I made it in response to seeing so many of the kind of like high pile, like what I consider to be retro polar fleece vests that were coming out last year that I saw. And like, I didn't necessarily want to, I mean, I wanted to buy one. I wanted to buy one, but I was trying not to buy one. I don't know. Like, that's just like a weird, totally thing from my head. I do a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense. But I was just trying not to buy one for some reason. I just arbitrarily decided that I should not buy that. And so I was like trying to find an alternative like that I could make for myself. And so this is clearly what happened. In my head, they're equivalent-ish. Clearly, the fancy Patagonia. By the way, Patagonia, what's up with you not making fat people clothes? What's up with so many active and outdoor things not making fat people clothes? Okay, let me just interject this weird thing about our trip. So we went to Jackson, Wyoming, and then Yellowstone. Okay, for like the first 2 days that we were out of state, I was like, are there no fat people out here? How am I, like, by far and again, the fattest person I have seen in like 48 hours? How is that even possible? Like, I felt conspicuous. And then we go, okay, so national parks, get your heads out of your butts. Stop only carrying up to 2X. Fat people go to your parks. I saw them later on. What? Only 2X in everything. None of the national. I checked because I was just like, nothing beyond a 2X in any of the national park stores, Tetons or Yellowstone that I went into. What's up with that? Then the weird thing is in Jackson, so we were looking at like souvenir t-shirts for the kid. Well, for me too, let's not lie. I bought one. We were like, the 3Xs are all together, like in a separate place. In both of the like big kind of like t-shirt stores. What's that about? Is that like a Western thing? Are your fat people clothes segregated? I mean, part of me like can understand like the logistics. Like if you don't have everything in a 3X, like this is an easy way to be like, this is what we have in a 3X. So you don't have to like weed through everything. But then it also kind of felt like, here's the fat people stuff. You get different stuff. Like here, just shop over here. It's a very weird thing. Have you guys seen this other places? Is this a West? I don't understand what's happening. I mean, I know I'm from the Midwest, the land of fat people. And I did see some other fat people like later on in my journeys. And I wanted to like fist bump all of y'all because I was just like, dude, you are living a different life out here. What's going on? Like, I felt like I needed to like, I mean, I almost always want to fist bump fat people in the world, but this was like a real deep, like, what's happening out here? Anyway, where was that even coming from? Oh, well, that was me being like, Patagonia, come on, make some fat people stuff. Jeez Louise, you're a great company in so many other ways, and yet. Anyway, so clearly this is my Don't link me. I know I can get high pile things for fat people. Like I did see them and was tempted by them. So don't link me. I'm good. But like this was somehow spiritually the same thing to me. so it's been dormant forever. Since like the spring, because I had gotten to the place where I needed to do the collar and I just stalled. I was like, it was so easy. Why? All I did was just pick up the stitches and knit the ribbed collar. I think I was just really stalled on like, I was trying to figure out how to do it with crochet, and then I was just like, dude, just do it with knit, because like, and then it was a whole thing of like, well, what color do I do? The whole thing striped. And I did make a weird decision. Like for some reason I decided to use this yarn, which is beautiful. And that's clearly the reason I used it. This is another Crafty Girl. It's her SSK colorway from 2020. And it's gorgeous and I love it. And I love her single ply DK. But then after I got like halfway through it, I was like, wait, why did I choose this one? It's like the most outliest of the yarns I used. Like, but then, so I picked up the outside stitches and I ended up picking up like a total random way. I just kind of like eyeballed it. And then that looked about right. A responsible thing to do would have been to like do some knit one, purl one, gauge it, and then like figure out how much distance I had, and then no, I just was like, yeah, seems good. So because actually what I did is I crocheted one row around, and then I was like, wait, I don't like the way this looks. So that's when I decided, okay, I'll just pick up on that and knit the rest of it. So I decided to do a 2-layer one. So I did the outside, left the stitches live, then picked up the inside, knit this, and then did a 3-needle bind off to join it. So now it has a nice body. It stands up. It feels extra squishy, which is great. But I did start to doubt myself because I really liked the way this one looked. This is like Quince and Company something. I really was like, oh, why did I choose that yarn as the outside other than I really like it? But like aesthetically, I should not have. But when it's on, you can't, it doesn't make that much of a difference. Like nobody's gonna know. I mean, nobody's gonna know because they're just gonna be like nobody's gonna be like, oh, that's an odd choice. They're just gonna be like, that is an odd choice. Shut up. But so it's super cozy. So my plan is to do a zipper. And so now I'm just weaving in ends. Originally I was thinking I might pick up along the edge here, but I did a crochet pickup and I did like a row, and I just didn't care for the look of it. Maybe because again, it has to be a solid stripe, and and the edge looks okay enough. It's sturdy enough to do to just sew to the zipper. So I think I'm just going to leave it as is. We'll see after I block it. So right now I'm weaving in 8 trillion ends. Right, Gus? But as soon as I get done with that, I'm going to block it, and then we're going to kind of go from there in terms of should I do something extra for the zipper front. But I think I'm just going to leave it as is. And then, I don't know, I can't decide about the sleeve if the same thing will be. But I'll just leave it as is. It's like kind of wonky here underneath, but it's kind of, that's where it would be underneath my arm, so I haven't decided. Just can't decide. And then I even have some slash pockets worked in, so I'm gonna have to sew some pockets for those. Such a hot mess. I'm wearing it to Jackson next year. So anyway, we went on vacation. I totally left my yarn at home. I did. Like normally for a vacation, it's 3 days. I feel like I need to bring 5 projects, right? I've been burnt out on knitting lately. It's hard to say that. I'm not burnt out on the idea of knitting. I love to plan the knitting. I love to look at patterns. I love to look at my yarn and try to figure out how I'll use it. I love all of those. I love the knit wearing of it. I love all of those things, but somehow the actual like stitching of it, I don't know if it's just, I think it's just just like dead brain cells. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I need a really good brain exfoliation. Like, this trip really helped. But there's been a lot of stagnation in my life in the last couple of years. And yeah, obviously, like crazy nonsense is going on everywhere. So I'm so happy that these are my problems. Is that what we're saying? Is that what I would say? I think that's what I would say. Like, I'm very thankful that these are my problems. However, it is not realistic to maintain a headspace of, well, I shouldn't complain about these problems because other people have worse problems, because everybody's always going to have worse problems, right? It's really hard. I do that stuff to myself all the time, but like, that is not productive for me or the people around me. So whatever. I don't know where to be in my brain. But I do know that I need some brain exfoliation, because I think that's part of my knitting like slump, is that I'm just all over feeling so sluggish, stagnant, like just like, you know? And so it's so easy when I would normally be knitting to just feed my brain candy, and just then again, just like when you feed your body candy and that produces like lethargy and like berg. It's the same thing with my brain. Like, I know I just need to like step away from the brain candy. And I've not been in a place to be able to do that, but I'm thankful that I went on this vacation, because I've been feeling that like that for a long time, but this made it even clearer that that's where I'm at, and that I really need to make changes to my everyday self and also my every once in a while self, but I need to make changes. Whether or not those changes fit in with what my family needs, I need to do something for myself. I do a lot of things for myself, right? I am so not a martyr. Like, I do so much for myself, but I need to do things for myself that require me to feel a little bit more uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Like, I need to not do easy things for myself. I need to just start doing like hiking by myself, which I've never felt comfortable with. Not like a safety thing or anything. Just like a conspicuous thing. Like, I will be completely honest, like biking, hiking, that kind of stuff. Like, I feel out of place many times in the outdoors. As a fat person, like, I do feel conspicuous. And that's my own deal. I mean, it's real, but it's also just like my own deal. And so when I have other people with me, it feels like they are validating me in an outdoor space. Like, I don't know, I just feel safer. And again, not from an actual, like, I feel mentally safer when I have them around me. And so I just need to shake that off and really start to get out of my comfort zone in terms of doing stuff on my own, because it's not necessarily stuff that they want to do, and like, that's fine, but that doesn't mean it's not stuff I want to do. Okay, oh my gosh, that was a bit digression. I didn't bring my knitting on vacation. I think that's where this started. Yeah, that's where it started. Okay, I didn't bring my knitting on vacation. And it was so weird, because we were driving to the airport and like we were 7 minutes from home, and I was like, I forgot my knitting. And my family was like, oh, they were like all horrified. They were like, oh, do we need to go back? And I was like, no, I think I'm fine. And they were just like, and I was really fine. Because I was like, oh, okay, we're going to a place that has a town. And I did know that it had a yard and store in it. I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll do other things. So it was very strange. I ultimately did get some knitting, so that was exciting. And it was fun to have an excuse for myself to go to the yarn store there. So yeah, let's show you that. So I went to, oh my goodness, what was it called? Knit on Purl. I think the only yarns were in Jackson, so it's not like there was a big confusion about what I was talking about. But just in case, they were lovely. So nice. It had a great little shop. It was perfect for what I needed. They had their local folks featured, so you didn't have to like go out of your way to try to figure out what was local and what would be special. I mean, that makes sense in a touristy town, but still, I appreciated it. But they also had some kind of like staples, which was really awesome. So originally I went in just thinking, oh, I'm just going to get sock yarn to work on another pair of socks and a pair of needles. But then when I was in there, I was just like, you know what? I went outside where I was thinking I was going to go. So I purchased some, oh my goodness, what is her name? I purchased Farmer's Daughter Fibers in her Moon Sisters colorway, I believe. It's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellino. What? The colorway is Mr. Pocket, but I don't think that's what this is because there's no stellina in this. Oh, I guess, well, no, I thought that was just the nut. Oh, I guess there is. What? Now I'm all like, I wound this by hand and I still don't. I'm like, what? I guess there is. I was knitting in darker places. It's very minimal. But it is, I can see that it's in there, maybe. Oh, now I still think I'm lying. No, I can see it, right? I wonder if it's like a dark stellina, because this is a really dark colorway. It's a very dark green, like a very deep pine. I'm still mystified. How did I not? Whatever. Sorry. So I purchased that, and then I purchased this, which is Mountain Down in Natural. It's a 2-ply fingering weight, 250 yards for 2 ounces. It's 25% bison from Durham Ranch, Wyoming, and 75% Mountain Merino Rambouillet from the Camino Ranch in Buffalo, Wyoming. And they had several different fiber blends. They had they had a Tarkey one that I was really like, oh, I want that one. But settle down. I've never had buffalo fiber, so that's what I went with. So I decided that I would make a Purlbreak. That's what it's called. So Daybreak was one of the first shawls I made in my recent knitting life. So I had a big break from like college knitting to this life knitting. But it's gotten several holes in it. And so I decided, ooh, I'm going to make another one, but it's the Purlbreak. So it's a Daybreak, but just with no purling. So yeah, it's very pleasant to work on. There's some Montana grass in there. So yeah, I mean, I didn't knit much of it, but I'm still excited about it. And what I'm even more excited about is I have really enjoyed knitting on it. Really enjoyed it. And I was even like, oh, I'm going to buy. Okay, I did buy. I bought some single ply from Beaverslide Dry Goods, which is also in Montana. I purchased it through the mail, though. I did not purchase it in person. It was not near. Trust me, I looked. It would not have been a reasonable side trip. But I did buy it because I kind of thought to myself, oh, I want to dye some colors to do like little stripes with, or maybe even the band on the Daybreak is like a solid wide band at the end. And I thought I would make it like, even though this is silly, whatever, I'm not even going to tell you that. But it was just like a weird science fiction book reference that Anyway, I thought it would be really fun to dye a few mini skeins to use as the border in like the wildflower colors. Because boy, your Montana and Wyoming wildflowers, I mean, wow, they're beautiful. I mean, our wildflowers are beautiful too, don't get me wrong. But we got to see so many wildflowers, even though it was July. Usually by then it's pretty much, you know, more of the yellows and kind of like coneflowery kind of stuff here, but gorgeous. I enjoyed it so much. And so I thought it would be fun to kind of do that and do that as a border, but we'll see. I might get to the border and just be like, no, I like it. Because I kind of wanted it to also be sort of neutral, because I don't have a ton of neutrals. So I thought that would be a good neutral. So then I have another knitting project that I need to start, and I want your help. Well, I would love your help if you feel so inclined. I was sent these colors. These were sent to me for free, but they were not sent with any obligation. So is that an advertisement? I don't know, but maybe yes. So FYI. But I was sent these colorways from Espace Tricot, which is a beautiful knitting store in Canada. And they have a new yarn line. This one is called Sunday Morning. They have it in fingering weight and DK weight. And it is it 80 or it's 75 BFL, 25 Massam. So it has this beautiful, I don't know if you can tell, but it has just a slight halo and so it has like a good woolly feel. It's not like a merino, so if you're like I want the super softest thing ever, but it's, I mean, I'm rubbing it all over my, maybe I wouldn't want it like under my armpit. I still think I would be okay, but whatever. I love it, and the colors are gorgeous. This one is Wanderlust. This one is Simple Pleasures, and this one is that's what it's. So originally my plan, well, this is my plan. My plan is to make a Stay Soft shawl, and that is by Veera Valimaki. Let me see if I can get a good shot of, there we go. So it's like this. And I thought it would be very fun to stripe the lavender and the kind of like dusky mauvey kind of color, and then put the dark green as the band. That's my thought. Do you have any 3-color shawls that you're loving recently? I would love to know if you do. Because, I mean, obviously, I have access to the internets to choose things, and I might have 9 million things in my queue. But... So FedEx brought your fabric. Oh, so yeah, I think I'm going to make it Stay Soft, but... Have you seen that new Stephen West shawl? What is it? It's not like parallelogram, but it's something like that. It's all 5 skeins of insanity. It's beautiful. But I don't want any more 5 skein shawls in the moment. I just don't wear them. So I'm like, okay, 3? Yes. 5, too many. Remember when 3 skeins used to be a big shawl? Remember those days? 3 skeins used to be such a big shawl. Now it's like, middle-ish, middle of the road. So anyway, so that is on my knitting horizon. I mean, I have many other things to work on, which I'm excited about. I have my beaded shawl still. I have my mitts from the beautiful M to the 3rd, which I am excited. Oh, so pretty and they're so meaty. I love them. Oh, that would be so cute. I'm like, oh, I can use those colors to embroider. Right. Would these be beautiful? Oh, I'm going to embroider a little bit with those. Okay. Yay. So anyway, I have many good things to knit on. I'm excited. So with those, I mean, right? Such beautiful colors. The ladies there are just lovely. That's all there is to it. They're just lovely. Also, my ceramics class is over, and I don't have all my pieces back, but so wonky, right? Like eventually I just had to start firing things so that like I could have something to glaze. But now I actually really love this little bowl. I think it's been my pretzel bowl for several days now. But I think it might be my earring bowl, because currently I have a 4-ounce ball jar as my earring jar, because I'm classy like that. But I think it'd be very pretty for my earrings, right? I don't know, I'm very impressed with myself. So many of the things I have, okay, not so many, almost all of them so far, I had notes on them that were like overglazed, because some of my glaze did drip onto the kiln shelves. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm that person. I mean, they put this other stuff on their kiln shelves so it didn't like ruin their kiln shelves, but I was really embarrassed, and I was glad that I could pick them up in private and it was not going to get not that they would publicly shame me, but I did think it was interesting that they wrote the overglazed note on them when clearly they were overglazed. It's so hard to tell. How do you know? The first things I did were underglazed. Like you can see, like I didn't put enough glaze on the outside of this jar at the bottom. So many things were underglazed, but then I overglazed. Not so many, like 2 things were underglazed. I overcorrected. Surprise! Okay, so that's all my woolly goodness. I do want to spin. My spinning wheel has been calling to me. I do want to spin. My body has been very angry. Since we got back, like I think I'm okay today. What is today? Today's, what did I say it was? Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. We got back Thursday night. I have been wonky until today. Like not completely wonky, just like a little bit wonky. I did not do that much, y'all, on vacation. Like, we came home early because we had okay, that's a shenanigans. Okay, so our original plan, this is, by the way, our first ever family out-of-state vacation. So, we're not fancy. This is the first time we have together been on a vacation out of state. It is the first time all 3 of us, is that true? I think it's the first time all 3 of us have ever stayed in a hotel together. I think that's true. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly confident that that's true. Like we have gone camping together within like 2 hours drive of our house multiple times, but we've never gone on a family vacation together. And like my child and I have gone with my parents' place, but whatever. Like as our 3 family unit, 3 people family unit, we've never gone on out-of-state vacation together. We, my parents were kind enough to watch our puppies, so we got to leave them with them and know that they were in good hands. So hooray. Also, it's expensive to board things, so yay. But so originally we thought we would just spend the whole week in Yellowstone, but then something happened and I got made aware of the Tetons. Like, I mean, I knew the Tetons were a place, but I guess I just didn't understand that they were just like right there. And so I was like, well, I mean, if we could go to 2 national parks instead of just 1, why not? And I am so glad because they were the ultimate highlight of the vacation. I went to go back. As soon as we got home, I was like, all right, how do we get back there? Even though I will confess, we were not even like 12 hours into our trip where I was like, I want to go home. Because I am fully, like I am such a homebody. It's out of control. Like when my daughter, when our child was little, my best friend from high school came to visit with her children. And we went to the zoo in the morning and then we came back and then we went back to the zoo, like we came home. And we went back to the zoo in the afternoon and my child talked about it for like months, that we went to the zoo twice in one day. I'm kind of a homebody. And I was even less of a homebody then. But, so like I was I was the one who wanted to go on vacation. I was the one who like planned it, like did the whole thing. I really wanted to go, and I'm really glad we went, but there were definitely many moments in the vacation where I was just like, we're just not traveling people. It's definitely like I love to go on hikes, and then like 2/3 of it be like, whose idea was this? It was clearly my idea. But it's kind of that thing where you're just like, who decided this was a good idea? Oh, that's right, it was me. But our plan was, and like also I did not decide to take this vacation until it was like March or April. And so by then, normally we camp, both because it's affordable and because like, I know that on the vacations we have taken separately, and just from my own, who I am, homebody, like we are not people who will leave in the morning and then not come back until the evening. We're just not those people. So the nice thing about camping is that, you know, you're not like just looking at a hotel wall. Like you're at least outside, you're kind of like in the place, even if you're not like out in the place, and like you can walk the dogs and like, you know, so you still have, again, you're more in the place than like just like on top of it in a hotel somewhere. But when I went to look for campsites, like good luck. It's like a murder show out there trying to get a campsite. So I couldn't find any campsites that were in Yellowstone. And so the only ones I could find were outside of Yellowstone, and they were like $130 a night, which is just crazy for me to think about. But you know, whatever. It is what it is. Like prices are different in those like super popular districts. And like now I understand that more. But so we decided that we would stay in this Airbnb that was essentially a shack. It didn't have running water, but I kind of thought, like when I was a little girl, we went to Lake Erie every year. And so we stayed in these like fishermen's cabins, and they were very no frills. They did have running water, but they were very no frills. Like the furniture was all old. The beds were like squeaky. Like it, you know, it was not posh in any way. It was very rustic. And so that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, well, I mean, if we're willing to camp, like this will just be like camping, except we won't have a bathhouse to go to. And it was affordable. And then like partway then I realized we're going to the Tetons. So I was like, okay, we'll only stay there 3 nights. We'll stay in the Tetons. We are staying at a hotel because it's the only thing available. But whatever. Okay, so we go to the Tetons. The best. Okay, how do I tell you about the vacation but not tell you too much about the vacation? The Tetons are amazing. I need to go back. We didn't do a ton of stuff there. Like we did take a float raft tour is not the right word, but we got to float the Snake River, which was completely my thing because okay, I wanted to just take pictures from like like you're just like right against the mountain. As a person from very flat Indiana and Ohio, like there's like a big rocky mountain that still has ice on it, and it's July. I know that's a thing, but like I've never seen it before. Unfortunately, I mean, minor inconvenience for us, but real inconvenience for so many other human beings. The wildfire season had started early. So, I guess the fires were in Idaho, from what I understand. And the Tetons is kind of like this perfect place, where you have, Jackson Hole is surrounded on all 4 sides by mountain ranges. So if the smoke kind of blows in, it's very hard for it to get out. It has to have higher winds or rain. So we had really hazy views of the amazing mountains. But they were still amazing, even if they were hazy. And it did rain a little bit just a little bit in the morning on the third day we were there. And so we got to see kind of more of that, like a better visual of like the texture of the mountains, because a lot of times it kind of almost looked like they were silhouetted. But it was gorgeous. And so we got to do this float trip, and it was so enjoyable. I'm not gonna lie, I did pretend that we were doing River Wild for a minute. Did you watch the movie with Meryl Streep? I love it. Kevin Bacon is a bad guy. Love it. He makes such a good bad guy. We were not doing anything with whitewater at all, but it was the same kind of boat with like the same kind of oars. And our dude was like very bro, like he was very, I was really a little bit concerned that he was going to be too cool for school. And while he was a little too cool for school, he was also really cute about making sure that we saw whatever animals we could see. He was like hecka knowledgeable about like the amount of water that was flowing in the river and the amount the dams had released. And like, I was all like, what? Like he so he was very knowledgeable about a lot of the environmental components and like intricacies and how things are working together in the area. So that was very impressive. We got to see, we didn't get to see moose the whole vacation. We didn't see moose, but I did get to see moose poop, which was very exciting. I didn't know it was moose poop at the time, or I would have taken a picture. But we got to see beaver and bald eagles, and then almost at the very end, like we were just about to put in, one of the other women on the trip was like, look, there's a deer. There was like totally a mule deer fawn just like curled up along the bank, just like chilling. I didn't see Mama anywhere, but like her big beautiful mule ears. Amazing. We got to see so many animals. We saw mule deers, and we saw pronghorns, and we saw, of course, bison. So many bison. We actually got to see a bison. We were doing this like through Yellowstone. We did like this mud volcano area, which is like a really, oh my gosh, by the way, what is up with the elevation, y'all? Like, we get to this area where there's on the eastern, like more on the eastern side of the park, there's this area that's called Mud Volcano, and it's actually interesting because it's one of the most like earthquake active areas of the park, and it's the only like acidic, whatever, I'm not going to get into it too much. If you're interested, I'll do like a whole ridiculous nerd out. But we got to see a bison like hanging out in the middle of like this acidic pond. Like we're hiking up this hill. Well, we're walking. I'm hiking. My family are walking. I'm hiking. That friggin' altitude, man. Wow. That'll humble you quickly. Turn this corner, and then like there's all these people on the boardwalk like looking over here, and I'm like, is there like a guy? Like, I don't think there's a guy. There's like a buffalo just hanging out in the middle of this like acidic place, like just chilling. What is he doing there? And it was funny because we were one of the other formations. Like I was just like, wow, that's crazy, because I was just like cow pies, and I was like, yeah, that's wild. That they probably were literally just like bison poop. What? But that, I mean, okay, so I am not like, I mean, I am me. Like, if you're a normal size, a standard size, okay, that's not the right word. If you're a straight sized human, like, put a 200-pound pack on your back and walk. Like, you're going to get tired more often, or more quickly, right? Like, even if I was in prime physical condition for my body, like, I am carrying more than other people. I also have bigger muscle mass because of that. But you know what I'm saying. Like, there is some sort of difference. For me personally, whatever. That's all I can speak to. But like, I can walk. I can walk up a hill. I can walk upstairs. Apparently not in like Wyoming, because at 8,000 feet, I walked like up this like tiny little grade, and I was like, I don't think I can make it. I feel it's like, because originally I was like, oh yeah, we could just do this little circuit. It's like 2/3 of a mile or something. I was like, oh, we'll just do this little circuit and look at all this, because we had been in the car forever. We had just flown in the day before. Like, you know, we had driven from Billings, Montana, across into the park, and like we'd had our first family food crisis where people couldn't find things that they wanted to eat. Not me. It's unfortunate that in our family that I, as the person with the most reserves, is also the least picky about what we're eating. But anyway, we'd already had our first family meltdown of like people not being able to, okay, let's just be honest, my husband, who has no fat reserves, like having his like hangry meltdown of just like total toddlerville. Not really, but a little bit. So I was like, oh, let's get out and walk. That'll be lovely. That sounds delish. So we get up like the first hill, and I'm like, oh my gosh. The combination of the altitude and then like just being, I'm sure, tired from being on the plane. I was like, well, apparently I can't even move in this state. Luckily, my family is wicked supportive, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll just wait, it's fine, we're not in a hurry. And I was just like, no, really, I mean, I literally don't think I can do it. And they were like, no, it's just this little way, it's fine. Oh my gosh. Like, we did so little hiking. We went to we did the Jenny Lake, and I knew that I wasn't going to do the whole Jenny Lake loop, but we just did like the first. Jenny Lake, there's a boat, like a taxi, a water taxi, because there's these fancy, there's these big falls that people enjoy looking at, and you can ride a water taxi across the lake and then just do like this half-mile hike to the beautiful big waterfalls. But we decided that I decided what we should do is like go halfway and then see the waterfalls and then ride the water taxi back. And my husband was like, oh no, I really want to walk the whole thing. And I was like, that's fine. I will ride the water taxi back and just wait for y'all. And again, the first 40 feet of the hike, I'm like, I don't think I can do this. What is up with this state? I'm like, I don't think I can. They were fine. They were encouraging again. They probably thought I was just like calling wolf or something, but I was literally like, it sounded like I was just out of breath. Like my muscles were just like, nope. No. It was actually more that than the being out of breath. It was just like, my body was like, we can't function here. So we got, and then like halfway through the hike, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do the whole thing. And then I was like, 2/3 of the hike, I was like, nope, I'm riding that boat back. And I'm so glad I did, because they got back and they just looked like they had been fried in a pan. They were exhausted, because I'm like, okay, you guys want to take this water? You want to take this? Actually, it's just the water. Do you want to take this water? No, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Okay. You do you. They were fried. Highly entertaining. But anyway, so we just had a lovely time. And I watched several videos about the vacation. People just kept going on and on and on about how crowded it was. And I kept thinking, the whole time that we were on the eastern side of Yellowstone, and then the whole time in Jackson, when we left Jenny Lake, we got there, we didn't get there till like 8 or like 7:30. And we got there, we were one of the last people to get a parking space in the like primary lot, I guess. And by the time we left, it was bedlam. Like people were parked, I mean, half a mile down the road, it looked like. Okay, right, it wasn't that long, but you know, they were, like people were parked way down the street, and like it was crazy. And like at one point I did go back to my car while I was waiting for my family, and I was a little bit afraid I might get shanked, because I was like, no, I'm just going to my car. And people were like, because they wanted my space. Sorry people. But So yes, that was the first time we were like, okay, that's crowded. But even so, like, my family didn't feel like it was crowded at any point on our trail. Like, when we got to the Hidden Falls area, there was a little bit of a crowd just because people had gotten off of the, like, water taxi and were going. But, like, there was a lot, like, there would be people in, like, a specific place, but it was very easy to get away from them. It never felt like you were like, you know, it spread out. And we saw other people on the trail, but it was never, like, crowded feeling. They were just passing us. Because I was like, let me look at this wildflower. I mean, I was interested in the wildflowers, but also, let me just take a break. Body. Anyway, so we never, and like when we went into downtown Jackson, it felt, you know, like it was a little crowded, but I was like, wow, these people's perspective is very different from what crowded is, because like we've been to Smokies and that is crowded. Like that whole like gauntlet of like Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, that place is crazy. Even in the off season it feels crowded. So I was expecting like that kind of level of insanity. And yes, we did get into a traffic jam when there were some bison. But again, quickly people just dispersed after that. It didn't feel like we were driving bumper to bumper or anything like that. But then when we did get into, finally when we got into Yellowstone, like that, after we'd done the Tetons, I got to swim in a lake. The beautiful thing about Tetons too is it's small enough that like our hotel was not quite into Jackson, but was kind of like almost into Jackson. And like we could just, like the kid and I just went at night and swam in this lake. Not night, but like in the evening, like at 8 o'clock. It was so awesome. Like I'm like, I need that lake to swim in all the time because, okay, it's cold, but there's no like plants in the lake. There's no snakes in the lake. There are no snapping turtles in the lake. You can see the bottom. Like even when you get freaked out and something touches you, you can like see, okay, that's just a branch of a dead tree. Okay. Do you know what I mean? Amazing. I mean, you do get a little hypothermic. I did have this beautiful, I was just like, this is the place to be fed in this lake. Because I am not cold. I found out that I am apparently the most buoyant human in my family. Okay, my husband didn't go, but I know that he stinks like a rock. He's cold all the time. I knew we wouldn't get in that water. But even my teen was like, yeah, no. I was like, I have to fight myself not to float. I have to push my body down, not for my like feet to fly up and for me to like just not, like I am a raft. I'm a manatee. That's what I discovered. Like I'm a cold water manatee because I can't be a seal because I'm not that fast. And I feel like walruses, I mean, that was another question, but I'll have to look into that. But they're little rapies. I don't want to be them. Manatee. I was just like, this is the most beautiful thing ever. It did make me want to stay at a paddleboard though, because everybody was on those and they look so cute. I mean, people were actually standing up on them, but lots of people were just sitting on them and like paddling around because it's a very quiet lake. It's called String Lake. It's very quiet in most of it. It's very shallow in most of it, which is why the reason it's the most popular place to swim, because it's the warmest. But anyway, it was beautiful, amazing, I loved it. But then we went to Yellowstone and it was not good. We actually, I'm sorry, I just totally hate you. We did hit the crowds of insanity when we tried to go to, because we had driven up from the south, we couldn't get there early, because that's what everybody says, get there early or go late. But because I mean, we could have gone up at like 4 and left the Tetons, but we just did not. So we got there and it was, we did one geyser section that was or not geyser, but like one thermal area that was on Yellowstone Lake that was beautiful, and that was lovely, and that wasn't crazy. But then we got to Old Faithful, and like we were able to see Old Faithful and like do that, like because that was on my husband's list of he wanted to do that. But then it just all went to heck in a handbasket. There were just too many people. It was definitely like oh, this is what they were talking about. And they kept talking about how there was just, so the crowds were crazy. Like, we didn't have that experience until then. And then it was just like instantly too much. Like, we gone from like being totally fine to just like, boom, tank is full. We got to get out of here. So we didn't even go, like, I wanted to see Prismatic Springs. There was like several other things in the basins that I wanted to see, but it was just like, even my husband is much more like than I am about, I mean, I don't like being around people, but I can like breathe through it, and his reaction is just like flee. But even I was like, it's not worth it to me to like try to like navigate this amount of humanity. Like, it's too much. So that, okay, we'll go to the shack in a Gardner, and then we'll figure it out, right? Like, then we'll figure out, because like, was like, okay, well, we'll just go to Mammoth Hot Springs, and then maybe we'll go to the museum in Bozeman. And so we were all fried. We had tried to get something to eat, and we couldn't get anything to eat because there's so many worker shortages there that lots of restaurants have gone to, well, I don't know, maybe they're like this all the time, but lots of the restaurants are closed in like the afternoon. And so couldn't get anything to eat. My people were like tanking on their blood sugar levels. And I was like, let's just get to this place. We had some sandwich things. I was like, let's just get here. We'll make sandwiches. We'll like figure out what's going on. I say that calmly. I was not calm at that point. I had like kind of reached my limit of like dealing with other people's needs. Like, I was at my maximum fill of dealing with other things, and then like the GPS was weird, and like we had to go to this place that was like, I knew it was gonna be crazy and like off the beaten track. So I had preloaded the map so that we could get there, but then like something was happening, and like it was just like, I freaked out and yelled at everybody because hi, I'm a human being. And we get to the place we're supposed to stay. Yeah. It was a shack. Like, it was a shack, but it was also like a shack of low standards. Like, it was like, we walk in, and my teen is like, and then my husband is like, my husband doesn't even go in. My husband pulls the car like alongside the place, opens his door to his car, and then just shuts it immediately. And I'm like, I'm trying to be like, in my head, I'm like, we're just getting a hotel. But then I'm like, okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's just like camping. Well, you know, open some door. It'll just be fine. My husband is like, I will pay for us to get a hotel. Let's not stay here. My husband is so, like, he lived in a car for part, like, he's been a vagabond for parts of his life. Like, he's not picky. Like, he is not picky. So when he said that, I was like, okay, we're gonna cut this loss. If like any one of these things had not happened, like if I hadn't been just like overwhelmed by other people's needs and too many people, if he hadn't been overwhelmed by too many people, if we hadn't been, oh my gosh, we did get to see a bighorn ewe. In fact, we saw at least, there were 2 bighorn ewes, and then I don't know if the other one was like a yearling lamb or if it was just like a thin ewe, but we totally saw bighorn ewes. Can you believe it? It was just on the road. We were leaving the park, and not far before we got to the north entrance. So after Mammoth Hot Springs, but before the north entrance, there was a traffic jam, and my husband slipped out because he was like, ah, because at that point he was losing it. Because people do have this really bad habit of, I mean, I get it, it's super exciting. Like, hi, I'm super excited to see wildlife too. But like, it doesn't mean you get to park on a road. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's this like level of entitlement that happens when people just lose their minds. And like, I can be mostly patient, but then sometimes like you're literally being unsafe and that's not cool. But anyway, so my husband was like, what's going on? And I was like, then I was like leaning over him with the camera out the window, trying to take pictures. Again, we were stopped. He was concentrating on the road, but I was taking pictures like a crazy person, or at least trying to. I did get a few. I'll put them in here. That seems wool relevant, right? But anyway, so then, okay, so apparently I now have vertigo. Like I can't do heights anymore. Like I used to be okay with them, but like, so like the trip out of the park is a lot of like descending, and there's like a lot of like, oh, I can see the ground, it's very far away. And so I had spent the whole time like being like not consciously, but just like my whole body was rigid, which is I think why I was all messed up when I got home with my back and everything. I was just like completely like strung like a piano wire. It was intense. I mean, I kept trying to relax. I kept trying to just not, and I wasn't looking, but I just couldn't. And it's not like I didn't my husband was driving very reasonably. He knew I was very anxious. He wasn't being at all, it was out of my control. Like, right? It was just like a nervous system response. There was no thought that I could make happen that was going to calm my inputs enough to like make it through. So like we had that, my body was all reacting to that. There was all these people. There was just like a lot of things going on. And then it was just like we got to that place and I was just like, husband was like, I don't think we should stay here now. I was like, I think you're correct. So ultimately we just ended up coming home a little early. We had just all had it by that time, and like we drove to get a hotel, and then we were at the hotel and I was just trying to like make myself be okay with like figuring out how to stay, but I had like not slept since we got there because of this ridiculous hip issue. Like I only slept like 4 to 6 hours a night every night if I was lucky. So I was just like, okay, apparently we're just not made for this. Apparently we're not made for a week vacation. Apparently we're only made for like 5 days max. So I just cut our losses and came home. It was so ridiculous. We're such babies. Okay, we weren't babies. I was not a baby. I just reached my level. And like, that is my level. And I just have to acknowledge that that's what it was. And we just came home and got our dogs. If any one of us had been able to roll with it, the other ones would have probably gotten on board. But like, none of us were able to roll. So instead, I was trying to make a flight change at 4:30 in the morning in Bozeman, Montana, which was fun. So ridiculous. But that said, Tetons, I'm coming back. I'm coming for you. I am going to get an RV. I'm going to rent an RV. I'm already super excited. We're just going to go and bike and swim and kayak or paddleboard or something. Totally worth it. I'm gonna take a hard pass on Yellowstone for a while. Yellowstone was beautiful, but I also discovered like that there's a reason. Like we are apparently, I'm apparently not a go see it person. I'm like a go do it person. You know what I mean? Like, because we were only going to be in Yellowstone for a short period of time, we were on like the go see it plan, which is much less exciting to me than the go do it plan. Even though we didn't do as much, or we didn't do that much in Tetons, it felt like a truer experience because like, again, I was able to get in the water and like just like soak up I don't know what it is. Like I needed the electrons there. I'm not sure what's happening. But it just felt, we got to go see the museum, the wildlife museum, which was awesome. I just loved it. But Yellowstone, yeah, we're gonna take a hard pass until we can go back on like one of the shoulder months and spend like a significant amount of time there to be more in the place. Because again, even the like little like 2/3 of a mile walk we did in the mud volcanoes area was really pleasant, but just like walking to see something and then walking back is like not fun to me. Also, I think because they have to, like, the thing that's fun and interesting about those kinds of things is like learning about like the reason that they are there and like what geologically has happened, and like again, it's the learning part of it. And I think because they just have to like, it's like a conveyor belt of humans through so much of Yellowstone, they can't have as much information out for people to look at because it bogs up the conveyor belt, right? And so I'm sure they have to really manage like where they put information and how people have access to it. Just from like a crowd flow perspective. But it was definitely, yeah. So that was like, we had a little bit more information in that mud volcano area, and that was really enjoyable. But the other places we went, it wasn't like, it didn't have that. You know what I mean? It didn't have this. And so it didn't feel like you were kind of, again, it didn't feel like you were in the place. It just felt like you were above it somewhere. They had these really cool, the like prototypes of these like pods, which I am so excited about for people. These like electric, like all window pods that you'll be able to like self-drive vehicles through Yellowstone. I'm like, that is brilliant. It'll be interesting to see how parks, and again, like what will this look like post, hopefully, pandemic? Like, will people not be visiting the parks in the same levels that they are now? Or will it just be like, people will realize that is an amazing resource for us to visit? I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how the Park Service navigates this as we go forward. Because, yeah, Yellowstone especially. Whew. I'm sure those rangers just feel like they're hurting humans, and it's gotta be crazy frustrating. So I'm not complaining in terms of like they did this wrong. It's just crazy. It was just unfortunate, like, you know. So it'll be really interesting to see how that management moves forward and how they make changes. And again, like, it's so hard right now because they can't predict like what are the next 5 years going to look like for them. And like they're there for wildlife and botanical management, not necessarily people management, but man, that's got to be like a huge part of what's going on for them. So anyway, sorry, that was a lot of, I didn't mean to talk that much about it. Have I talked about it? Yeah, I should probably stop talking. But we're home, we're safe. I had an amazing time. I got to see moose poop, even if I didn't get to see a moose. I saw so many marmots. That was high on my list. Wildflowers, wildly enjoyable. So many ravens. So many. That was exciting. What else? Yeah. It was all good. But Tetons. Oh, you got me, Tetons. Coming back for ya. Even if I had to like fly into Salt Lake City to rent an RV and drive up there. Do you know that I know that because I've already made plans? Yes, you do know that because I've already made plans. Not concrete plans, I'm just looking at my options. It's awesome. Even though you have a weird system about fat people, I don't understand what's going on. I would love to know. Also, why are dogs allowed everywhere? I could probably just Google that, but if you know, just tell me. Like, dogs are allowed in restaurants? Is this all of Wyoming, or is this just like a Sassy Jackson thing? we were eating at a restaurant and like somebody just brought their dog in. It's not a service animal, just like a straight up dog. And I was all like, and then it happened other times. What's happening here? So strange. Oh my gosh. And then I went into this one store because I was thinking maybe I should buy a pair of sandals because I wasn't really going to buy them, let's be honest. Okay, I might have. No, I'm not going to talk about it. Oh my God, they've had people in that store. They asked literally everybody around us if they needed help. Well, I'm just like, it was definitely like a Pretty Woman moment where I was just like, I mean, we did kind of look like a hot mess. Because we always look like a hot mess. But you could have just thrown us a bone. Right? Mountain hardware, whatever you were. Whatever. Oh, we had a great time though. And I'm excited to get knitting and to get sewing and to doing all those things. So yes, next time I'll have prizes. Maybe I'll talk more about my vacation. I don't know. Do you want a slideshow? That's weird. But do you? Because I'll just talk forever apparently. Yeah. Can you believe it's almost August? What's happening? My kid is going to high school in like a day and a half. What is that about? Do you remember? A lot of you were here when my kid went to kindergarten. Now they're going to high school. I don't know. Do you know? It's crazy. Right. I'll talk to you next time.